Hi, I'm Jeff Forbes. I think I'm standing here because I'm a past steering committee chair for CEDAR. I have no idea what years that was. But that was only 4 years. I've known Barbara for at least 30 years. And so my perspective may be a little bit different than others. And for the benefit of those who don't get some of the things that I'm going to say, find somebody with gray hair at the break and ask them. So when they asked me to come up and say something about Barbara, I reflected on what I remember Barbara for, and so I wrote them down. So these are the things that come to mind when I think of Barbara Emery. Barb, Doug, trains, CEDAR, HAO, TGCM, Amy, CEDAR, DMSP, hemispheric power, CEDAR, quiet, determined, attention to detail, CEDAR, database, wiki, South Boulder Recreation Center, private joke between Barbara and I, announcements and chaos after the plenary sessions, the glue that held CEDAR together for 30 years. Thank you, Barb, for all of your contributions.
Hi, I'm Jeff Thayer. As well as being CEDAR chair, working with Barbara over 30 years, because I started out as a student. In 1987, I came to my first CEDAR meeting, which was the second, I believe, as we keep our chronologies correct, as our second meeting for CEDAR. And I have a letter from Barbara acknowledging my student registration form. And since then, Barbara has always been a part of CEDAR for me, because she was there when I got here, and she's here still. And it's been a joy. I've worked with her. She worked closely with us on the CEDAR Post, was something that I remember a lot with Barbara, working with her, which is now a CEDAR newsletter, I believe, that we just put out as an email. But at the time, it was kind of a published outcome that Barbara helped a lot with. Also, Barbara was always behind the scenes, and her husband, Doug took a lot of photos. I think a lot of them are showing up behind me over the years. And so I want to also appreciate Doug's time. He's dedicated to this as well. And Jeff had said, captured a lot of things that I've experienced. I've also worked with Barbara as a scientist and working with publications, and enjoyed that time as well. So I just want to get an opportunity to say thank you, Barbara, for all your time with CEDAR, and it's been a pleasure.
So I was involved with the CEDAR Steering Committee very early in my career, and then again quite recently. And the experience was almost the same. And you know, how many things can you say that about in life? And the reason was clear, and the reason was Barbara was there both times. And Barbara provided the continuity. And you know, CEDAR steering committees come and go, and chairs come and go. It turns out program directors even come and go. Who would have thought? But always there's been Barbara. And we can really thank her for the continuity that this program has enjoyed. And there's really nothing else in my life that has remained as continuous as CEDAR has been. And there's more to it than that. You know, if you've been on the steering committee, you know that the committee meets and everyone talks about, you know, a more perfect CEDAR, you know, what the perfect workshop would be, what the perfect meeting would be, how things would be in an ideal world. And then people kind of fade away. And then it's time for the work to be done. And then there's Barbara. And Barbara actually does the work, most of it, most all of it. And so if there are aspects of this meeting that you like, and if there are aspects of this community that you enjoy, you know who to thank for it, and you can thank Barbara. So, I'll do that.
So I'm Kendra Greb, and I don't usually stand up here, obviously. I have been working with Barbara for 8 years now. We do all of the logistics, the behind the scenes, and I would have been lost without her. She has arranged all of the extracurricular activities for years, the hikes that you all took, trips to museums, train rides in Utah, and was it the 25th anniversary when you actually had everybody come and visit your house and look at the model trains? She's also done and arranged salsa dancing at various workshops, which we have beautiful photos of. Some of the more memorable things, I know that there's a photo up there that I don't think most of you get to see, is when you walk in her office. While she is very organized when it comes to CEDAR, when you walk into her office, all you see is piles of paper. I couldn't find a thing if I was in there myself trying to look. She is very, very passionate about students and has really been trying to pass that love off to me and Michelle, and we hope to keep moving that forward in the future. And I'm just gonna miss you and all of your help that I always get. And I'd like you to come up here if you could. We have a couple of items for Barbara. First, we have this lovely certificate of appreciation that, most importantly, ensures free registration for life.
Hey, yeah, that's a great deal.
And then we had a bracelet made for you. And I know that none of you can see this, but it actually has the CEDAR logo engraved on it.
Oh,
See that you can wear that.
very cool. I'll wear it.
So thank you. Did you want to say a few words?
I wrote a few words. So first, about 30 years ago, I was asked to take care of two things at once. One was organization of the CEDAR workshop, the annual CEDAR workshop, and I started in the third year, but I went to the first two. And the other thing I was asked to do was to become basically scientific manager for the incoherent scatter radar database, and that was just beginning as well. Both of these things were being done out of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and our division at that point was ACAD, Atmospheric Chemistry and Aeronomy Division. When we left, the second day left too, and they're just the Atmospheric Chemistry Division now because we moved to the High Altitude Observatory. But all of these key things came out of National Center for Atmospheric Research, which is funded by NSF. So the first thing that I did was a whole lot of making lists, and it's a good thing I'm good with both faces and names because I knew the names of the students before I would know their faces, because I would make lists of who's going on this extracurricular activity, who was doing posters, who was rooming with who. I had to know who was female and male, so I'd go see my next door neighbor and ask, Wen Bin Wang, is this female or male name? And try and figure things out like that. So it was really, really fun to do. And I have to say I enjoyed doing the CEDAR workshop more than I enjoyed doing the database. So I'm very thankful for people like Bill Rideout and John Holt who are doing the magical database, because the IS radar database, which became the CEDAR database, is now a part of the magical CEDAR database at Millstone Hill. So thank you guys. Meanwhile, I'm still doing CEDAR for at least this year, and we don't know, I might show up. I have free registration for life. And one of the things that I have found is this community is got three basic factors. One is instrumentation, that's a backbone of CEDAR, and instruments will take data. The second thing is data. This data can be very old, like magnetometer data. I've used a lot of magnetometer data. And instruments can be very small, like for CubeSats, or humongous, like the incoherent scatter radars. And then we finally have the modelers. And the modelers need the data to verify their models, although you have to remember that some modelers call their results data. So you have to watch that. And they also are nowadays assimilating the data so that they get better results. So you need all of them, and this causes the community to be very sharing because we need each other. And the other thing that the community has, which is very special, is we have this very strong emphasis on students. So the very first CEDAR workshop, I think, was called the IS Radar workshop. And then the second CEDAR workshop in 1987, we had our first tutorial speakers. That came up. I can't remember when we had our first student rep on the CEDAR Steering Committee. And it used to be just CEDAR Steering Committee. Then we added science, CEDAR Science Steering Committee. So we had our first student rep. Then we had 2 student reps. We had a student workshop. We try and do student games like soccer all the time. I tried to get to interesting places. A staff member at Arecibo suggested a cruise. So I looked into cruise, and it was actually financially possible for us to do, but only in hurricane season, October. So that was a problem. The other was no Wi-Fi on the ship. That was a problem. But the bigger problem was trying to explain that this is not a boondoggle to the powers that be, the GA and DC. So good thing that failed. I also tried to get you to Alaska. We had great dorms, great plenary setup, everything. But the cost from Alaska is double the cost to any other place, practically. And we couldn't afford $40,000 more for 100 students to get to Alaska. Too bad. But I don't know, there's always the future. Maybe plane fares will come down, you never know. So the thing that I have liked the best is this harmonious, congenial atmosphere within the community. It's been very good. We have had our differences. In fact, the beginning of CEDAR was actually JABOA, which stands for Ground-Based Optical Aeronomy. And we got the optical instrumenters talking with the radar instrumenters, and we have since found that with this synergy, we are much stronger as a community because we are more in harmony with each other. I did retire officially 3 years ago, and I found the first thing I did was more sleep, more exercises, and more longer vacations. I then went to learn more Spanish, so I took a class at the community college, and one of the best vacations I went to then was to Cuba twice. I did lots of trips and lectures at the Senior Center in Longmont, which is very good, better than Boulders, by the way. And so my husband and I gave a lecture on Cuba. So that was really fun to do. So I've been doing all this extracurricular stuff. I became certified as a land and water fitness aerobic instructor. So I now teach weekly deep water aerobics at the North Boulder Rec Center. And I'm hoping to get hired on at the YMCA and do this sort of stuff more regularly. That's why I see Jeff Forbes at the South Boulder Rec Center. He's in the spa and I'm in the pool teaching class. But then we talk about CEDAR in the spa. So it's been really fun. And I would like to actually finish 5 papers, but I find that I'm being paid to do the CEDAR organization, but thankfully that's being passed off to Astrid Mauta down here, and she's doing really well. I did most of the work last year. She did most of the work this year. So it's been a great transferal. And the final thing I'm working on now is I'm a manager for a solar project. So in addition to doing thermospheric work, you might see my name now on some solar papers. So it's been a great time, and I hope to see you at another CEDAR. Thank you, and thank you for everyone.